Well, this verdict is rocking the entire country with people lining the streets of New York City, both in agreement and disagreement with the full count guilty verdict of Donald Trump. There are so many questions all of us are pondering right now, like, will there be an appeal process? Will this be the first president behind bars? What happens with the electoral process? Does this mean all that was done while he was president needs to be undone? So joining me right now to talk about the verdict and what is next is a longtime Savannah criminal defense attorney, Michael Schiavone. I want to thank you for coming in at such short notice.
Happy to be here.
Well, Michael, you've been studying for a long time and handling criminal cases for 43 years in Savannah. As you watched the last 7 weeks of this case with former President Donald Trump, what is your take on the outcome? We're talking 34 charges. He's found guilty on all.
Well, the trial was, it's just like any trial anywhere in the country. The Republicans making these baseless claims about our judicial system. He was given a fair trial, and he had every opportunity to testify. He didn't take the stand. He didn't defend himself. The government put their evidence up, and 12 ordinary citizens believed beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed all 34 felony counts.
Michael, relatively short deliberations. Any thoughts on that in terms of the jury? I know last night they asked for more time and they wanted to take a look at some of the documents as well.
Well, for the most part, this was a document case, and then they had the canceled checks that were paid, and that he used his attorney to as an intermediate, which makes him a co-conspirator. And he was a co-conspirator when his attorney was indicted in federal court. And this was just an extension that Trump was a party to the crime. And the 12 jurors believed beyond a reasonable doubt that he committed these offenses.
Well, Judge Juan Marchand has all but said to the jury, you can go home now. What do you think in terms of jurors talking to the media? Will they have that time to do right after, we're talking tomorrow morning or even as early as tonight, talking to the media?
Once the jury was excused, they can speak to the press. They can speak to anyone they want in reference to their decision and what went on in the jury room. But they don't have to either. Oftentimes attorneys, I always like to speak to jurors after they've rendered a verdict in a case, just to get a full understanding of how they came to the conclusion of whatever their verdict was.
I want to talk now, and not to get too political, but we know that former President Trump is the presumptive nominee for the Republican Party, the general election happening on November 5th. How do you think, as a criminal defense attorney and such a high-profile case, this verdict will affect what happens next?
Well, I think it'll have a profound impact on people that have not made up their minds. I mean, there's a large segment in the population that would follow Trump off the Talmadge Bridge if he asked them to jump, and that's unfortunate. But I think most people, this is going to be an important factor, among others, the economy, abortion. There's a number of really important issues that are going to sway voters. But I think the fact that somebody now who's running for president is a convicted felon is profound, and it's never happened in the entire time of our country. A jury has spoken, and he's a convicted felon at this point.
All right, I want to have you to hang tight just for a moment and listen to some words from a former president. The president, I should say. Here's what Joe Biden had to say. He said in a statement about the verdict, instead of honoring his son's, he's honoring his son's memory as it is the anniversary of Beau Biden's death. So the president not saying a whole lot. It's the anniversary of his son's death. He died of brain cancer just 9 years ago today. So the Biden-Harris administration, the campaign, however, is reacting to this news of the verdict. They're putting out a following statement in New York today. They say, we saw that no one is above the law. But today's verdict does not change the fact that the American people face a simple reality. There is still only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, the ballot box. Democratic representative from South Carolina, Jim Clyburn, says in a tweet, the jury has spoken, justice has prevailed. We do want you to know that sentencing for the former president has been scheduled for July 11th. He could face a fine, probation, or up to 4 years in prison, and NBC will continue its coverage tonight. And I want to come back now to criminal defense attorney Michael Schiavone, a longtime defense attorney here in Savannah. We know that, as I mentioned, the judge, Juan Marchand, will have the sentencing coming up on July 11th. What is your thoughts? That is, I believe, 4 days before the Republican National Convention. And I'm just wondering, like a lot of people sitting at home, you've been through this process, but this is such a historic and huge case. Will the former president, Donald Trump, have an opportunity, of course, to appeal? And how long could that take?
Well, the appeal process could take, probably over a year. There's so many cases, and the appellate courts, they move fairly slowly. So the case will probably be on appeal long after the presidential election in November. So it's going to take a while.
All right. Thank you so much, Attorney Michael Schiavone, coming in to talk to us about this historic verdict here in the United States. We appreciate your time and look forward to talking to you in the days to come.
Absolutely.